Hello again. Um, yeah, I really am enjoying Guy Sengstock's talk with William Desmond, and yeah, I feel so inspired by listening to that conversation, and yeah, and also how my I'm hesitating to say what I'm thinking, and but I'm not a scholar and I'm not an academic, but listening to this conversation feels like I'm on the right track in my process of trying to structure this presentation for facilitating a space. And I guess I haven't quite realized what I've been participating with a lot, like especially in the space with awakening to meaning, um, where I participated frequently in the philosophical fellowship and also the dialectic into dialogos practice. So I guess I'm seeing now that it has had quite a effect on my mind or my thinking, and I think it created some uh, like cognitive flexibility, fluidity, maybe in the way things is organized in my thinking or is being organized. And how do I notice that this like probably has been going on? Uh, yeah, I find myself like noticing different patterns in like how yeah, I feel like I want to go in another direction with this because I don't want to narrow myself into my own like very individualistic um, frame. And but um, this is related also to, or how I notice, I was going to say. Now I'm going back into my individualistic frame, and I'm not going to do that. So I want to maybe speak more culturally about this. That's more interesting for me right now to do. I think I'm seeing this true line that this red thread that's woven into the cultural fabric of how we tend to um, polarize our conversations with opinions, with all our opinions. Um, and it's not very affording of novelty in a very deep sense. And all these domains that participate with polarization and separation, for instance, like especially politics comes to mind, and economy, probably. Not sure about that, but I think, yeah, if you connect it to politics, of course, it's economy. Let's see what else are, what other domains. Polarization and like relationships. So, but the true line I'm seeing that runs through all of these polarizations is the lack, or maybe another way to put this, yeah, it's lack, but also pointing back to my own ignorance of what I've been participating with, like not being very, yeah, being quite ignorant of how this has affected me over the course of a couple of years, maybe, yeah, something like that. That this has, first of all, it hasn't been very grounded. That I've been realizing more and more for the last maybe half a year or something. It hasn't been very grounded. So it's been like overly intellectualized. It's created a lot of um, disconnection in myself and also for others. Mm, feeling again like confession is, yeah, confessing to myself or to a part of me that, yeah, but I'm going back to the cultural framing. Mm, I'm the what I'm really realizing these days that's related to my project of, like I was saying, the presentation for facilitating a space is how useful dialectic is in so many ways. And I'm really more encouraged in my own process with listening to this latest talk from Guy Sengstock within a dialectical, very like very really modeling the dialectical process, the hermeneutics, hermeneutics, and how they kind of lay it all out is like so encouraging for my own, and also informing and inspiring for what I'm trying attempting to do with my project. Mm, and I'm not I'm really not sure if I can pull it off because this demands a certain kind of uh, cognitive fluidity and very like in a very sharp way, but also um, it demands also that I kind of catch myself when I'm in my uh, archetypical personal tendencies where I kind of don't maintain the focus of the what I'm where I'm kind of leaning into my own patterns of like and not realizing that I'm off track. So I have to be really, really careful about how where my attention is at the moment where I'm trying to locate the more universal pattern in the dialectic that's not mm, that sits beside of my uh personality in a way. So I have to distinguish between what's where I'm at and where is my attention being drawn to. And that's not an easy task. Mm, but I think in the clarity of the dialectic that's inspired also by a lot of like participation and also the intelligibility that kind of I get from listening to different people that I it's I have to be grounded enough in order to discern that where my tendency lies in the archetypical realm and also domain, maybe. And where am I going um, with the presentation? So in a way, I'm also realizing like the and appreciating how like people that are really rigorous and how much like how much effort and being thorough and systematic, how much that is not very part of my education and also not something I'm very inclined to do in a lot of ways. But this the whole idea of dialectic is kind of showing me a way to cultivate a more rigorous way of thinking. The Socratic dialogue, and also I'm also reading slowly the Symposium from Plato. It's also doing this kind of dialectic that's very engaging and also challenging and also um, in my experience it's very it speaks highly to this conversation that I'm currently listening to with William Desmond and Guy Sengstock. I was also noticing how this guy in another conversation and some lectures I've listened to John Russon and his approach to philosophy that's both uh, inspired by um, Plato and phenomenology. How similar this sounds in my experience to what William Desmond is speaking about and where he's speaking from. Is kind of he called it wasn't very like what was it? It was the poetic sense of philosophy or like it, it wasn't that it's not I'm getting it wrong, but if you go I think if you go um a long way of like systematizing things, at some point it can be too it's not it doesn't have the flexibility of the more poetic tone that can kind of sing to you if you're being too rigorous and systematic. That's my take on also, and in that poetic and philosophical tension, I think there's a sweet spot in between, and the like the in betweenness of the dialectic is where I want to go, and where I hear other people is taking things. And I think that's kind of, I think that's beautiful, and I think is where we like culturally also have to attend more to in order to get ourselves unstuck um, from where we're at and the meaning crisis and the meta crisis. It took a lot of effort for me, and I have to really get out and spend some time in the sun. Yeah, I don't think would be able to articulate this without being inspired by both listening to this latest conversation and also because I was just in a beautiful space with others in practicing circling that's copyrighted to the method of circling for the from the Circling Institute. I call it relational mindfulness or meditation. Thank you for listening. I wish you a delightful and relaxing day.